Robert Hanssen wasn't your typical double agent. He didn't wear disguises or sneak across borders. He worked quietly inside the FBI for over 2 decades, passing top-secret files to the Soviets while sitting behind a desk in Washington, D.C. He wasn't in it for politics. He wasn't trying to change the world. He wanted recognition, power, and money. And in his mind, selling secrets to the Russians was the fastest way to get all three. Between 1979 and 2001, Hanssen betrayed some of America's most guarded intelligence: nuclear plans, counterintelligence strategies, surveillance programs, even the names of U.S. spies operating in Russia. For 22 years, he operated under the radar, despite warning signs and suspicious behavior. By the time he was caught, the damage was already done, and the FBI had been breached from within. Robert Hanssen didn't work in the field. He wasn't chasing terrorists or conducting undercover ops. He was a technical expert, sitting in an office buried in classified systems. But that made him even more dangerous. He had access to the deepest secrets of U.S. counterintelligence, names of double agents, surveillance techniques, even continuity of government plans in case of nuclear war, and he used it all. Hanssen began spying in 1979, reaching out to the Soviet GRU and later the KGB under a false name. He didn't reveal his identity, but the information he delivered was real. He exposed multiple FBI and CIA assets, several of whom were executed. In return, he was paid in cash, small at first, then escalating into hundreds of thousands of dollars stashed in dead drops. To his colleagues, Hanssen was quiet, awkward, and intensely religious. No one suspected that behind his conservative Catholic persona was a man systematically gutting American intelligence. Hanssen wasn't hiding in the shadows. He was the shadows. While other agents focused on chasing foreign spies, Hanssen worked quietly within the FBI's own Soviet counterintelligence division, the very unit responsible for catching people like him. That gave him a perfect window into what the Bureau knew, what it didn't, and how to stay undetected. For over 2 decades, he fed the Soviets and later the Russians highly classified documents, surveillance logs, wiretap details, and counter-espionage strategies. He even exposed the existence of a secret tunnel the FBI had built under the Soviet embassy in Washington to eavesdrop on communications, a multi-million-dollar project rendered useless with a single leak. The damage was catastrophic, yet no one put the pieces together. Hanssen avoided detection not by being invisible, but by being ordinary, a quiet bureaucrat with a desk job and decades of trust. In reality, he was dismantling U.S. intelligence from within, one document at a time. On the surface, Robert Hanssen seemed like a devout Catholic and loyal family man. He went to church regularly, raised 6 children with his wife Bonnie, and even joined Opus Dei, a strict branch of Catholicism focused on discipline and moral rectitude. But beneath the sermons and suburban routine, he was living a double life. While preaching virtue, he was pocketing hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash and diamonds from Soviet and Russian intelligence. His betrayal wasn't just professional, it was personal. He kept his espionage hidden from his wife for years, only revealing fragments when she accidentally discovered suspicious cash. To appease her, Hanssen claimed he had stopped spying and went to confession. In reality, he had simply gone deeper underground. This contradiction, a man who spoke of God while betraying his country for personal gain, became a central theme of his story. Faith didn't stop him. Family didn't stop him. Nothing did. Robert Hanssen didn't just sell secrets for money. He sold them for power, recognition, and the thrill of superiority. Over the years, he received over $1.4 million in cash, diamonds, and foreign bank deposits from the KGB and later the SVR, Russia's post-Soviet intelligence agency. But unlike other spies, Hanssen lived modestly. No flashy cars, no sudden luxury. His motive wasn't just greed, it was pride. He wanted to outsmart everyone. His leaks led to arrests, executions, and major breaches in national security. By the mid-1990s, U.S. intelligence agencies were in a quiet state of panic. Too many operations had failed, too many assets had vanished. The assumption was clear: someone on the inside was leaking information to Russia. But despite growing suspicion, the FBI spent years pursuing the wrong suspect, a CIA officer named Brian Kelly. He was put under surveillance, interrogated, and suspended. All the while, the real mole, Robert Hanssen, walked the same FBI hallways. He monitored the investigation against Kelly. He even volunteered for committees discussing mold detection. The irony was suffocating. Hanssen was helping craft the very protocols designed to catch himself. While the Bureau fixated on Kelly, Hanssen continued feeding secrets to Moscow without interruption. The mistake would delay justice by years, destroy Kelly's career, and allow Hanssen to commit one final, devastating betrayal. By 2000, the FBI and CIA finally redirected their focus. The damage from the mole was too consistent, too catastrophic, and Brian Kelly no longer fit the profile. That's when a breakthrough came. A Russian intelligence file smuggled out of Moscow contained a fingerprint and a voice recording from an anonymous U.S. spy. Forensic analysis pointed in one direction: Robert Hanssen. With this new evidence, the FBI launched Operation Gray Day, a classified mission to surveil Hanssen without tipping him off. They installed hidden cameras in his office, bugged his car, monitored his home, and even planted a young FBI tech expert to work beside him. Every movement was logged, every keystroke, every contact, every brush past a trash can was scrutinized. Hanssen, careful as ever, began to suspect he was being watched. But it was too late. The Bureau was finally closing in, and they knew they had to catch him in the act. On February 18, 2001, Robert Hanssen left his Virginia home with a sealed garbage bag. Inside it, classified documents destined for Russian hands. He drove to Foxstone Park in Vienna, Virginia, one of his familiar dead-drop sites. As always, he carefully placed the bag beneath a wooden footbridge and walked away, unaware that dozens of FBI agents were watching from every angle. Moments later, he was arrested at gunpoint. Calm but cornered, Hanssen reportedly muttered, "What took you so long?" It was the end of one of the longest and most damaging betrayals in U.S. intelligence history. After 22 years, the mole had been caught, not through an informant or a confession, but through dogged surveillance, forensic breakthroughs, and sheer determination. The secrets he had stolen spanned 4 presidencies, 2 global superpowers, and countless lives caught in the shadows. After his arrest, Robert Hanssen struck a deal with prosecutors to avoid the death penalty. In July 2001, he pleaded guilty to 15 counts of espionage and conspiracy. The details revealed in court were staggering. Hanssen had provided the KGB and later the SVR with thousands of pages of classified material, including nuclear war strategies, satellite tracking capabilities, and the identities of Russian double agents working for the United States. Some of those agents were executed. The plea deal spared his life, but secured a life sentence without the possibility of parole. At his sentencing, his wife Bonnie sat silently, while Hanssen expressed remorse, calling himself arrogant and ashamed. But for the FBI, the damage was irreversible. Years of compromised operations, dozens of lives lost or endangered, and a profound question left hanging in the air. How had this gone unnoticed for so long? Robert Hanssen's betrayal forced the FBI and the broader U.S. intelligence community into a painful self-examination. If someone with his background, access, and obvious red flags could operate undetected for over 20 years, how many others might still be lurking? New internal security measures were introduced, including more rigorous polygraphs, psychological screening, and financial monitoring. But the deeper issue was cultural. Hanssen didn't just exploit gaps in the system, he exploited complacency, a belief that someone with his pedigree couldn't possibly be a traitor. His case is now a staple of intelligence training programs, a cautionary tale taught to every new agent. His story became a blueprint for understanding insider threats. And as Hanssen lives out his days in solitary confinement at ADX Florence, the most secure prison in America, his legacy endures, not in glory or infamy, but as a chilling reminder of how betrayal from within can do more damage than any foreign enemy ever could. One of the most unsettling aspects of Hanssen's double life was his strong outward display of Catholic faith. He was a member of the conservative Catholic group Opus Dei and often spoke about morality, confession, and sin. Colleagues knew him as devout, opinionated, and judgmental about others' behavior. But beneath the surface, his personal life was filled with contradictions. He visited strip clubs, installed hidden cameras to film his wife, and reportedly shared private, explicit stories with a friend. This hypocrisy created a psychological profile that baffled investigators. A man who justified betrayal with personal rationalizations while preaching righteousness. For some, it raised difficult questions about how institutions view morality and trust. Hanssen weaponized his image of virtue to deflect suspicion, proving that appearances, even pious ones, can be the perfect cover for deception. Robert Hanssen's betrayal didn't just affect his country, it shattered his family. His wife Bonnie was unaware of his espionage activities for over 2 decades. She had once grown suspicious early in their marriage when she discovered him with a large amount of cash. Hanssen reportedly claimed it was from a side consulting gig and even confessed the incident to a priest who urged him to stop. He did, for a while. But in truth, he never really stopped. He just got better at hiding it. After his arrest, Bonnie was devastated. She was not charged, but her world collapsed. Friends distanced themselves. The media descended. Her children, some of whom had grown up idolizing their father, were left with the unbearable truth. The man who raised them had betrayed everything he claimed to stand for. In interviews, Bonnie expressed heartbreak, not just at what he did, but at how completely he had lied to her and to the life they built together. While Hanssen's name might not be as widely known as other infamous spies, his story has captured the attention of Hollywood and true crime fans alike. The 2007 film Breach, starring Chris Cooper and Ryan Philippe, dramatized the FBI's final sting operation against him, portraying the slow, nerve-wracking process of bringing down someone hiding in plain sight. What made Hanssen's story so gripping wasn't action or gadgetry, but psychology. The tension came from watching a man live 2 lives, effortlessly deceiving everyone around him. For audiences, it was a reminder that real-world espionage isn't always about explosions or chase scenes. Sometimes it's a quiet man in an office, typing on a computer, and leaking national secrets to a foreign power.